Ooh, I want you, I don't know if I need you, but ooh, I'm dying to find out. Little throwback for you, internet. Maybe I'll start a lot of my videos with little classic songs. Maybe not even necessarily classic, just whatever song happens to be stuck in my head. I don't know why that one's stuck in my head. If you know what it is, shout it out down below. Look, I'm pointing down below. There isn't really anything there for me. It's just I'm pointing at my shirt. But for you, there's comments somewhere down here that you can use. Look at this. On loan from the Jack Hazard collection. Now, I was thinking of doing a on loan from Jack Hazard collection week because he sent me a bunch of stuff. But I'm going to have a kind of a whole themed thing going for me next week. So I don't know if I'm going to kind of space his out and basically delay uploading this, or if I'm just going to upload it over the weekend. We don't know. We'll figure it out. But it is a scorcher today. 47 degrees. We're not even going to call it balmy. That is a blistering 47 degrees and cloudy. It's a real scorcher today. So yeah, look at this nice little Carver's Customs. What's inside the Carver's Customs? Look at this. Look what Carver's Customs will do for you. So it's just a little silk little tab to help pull the spinner out, if you need that sort of a thing. With these larger spinners, you don't really need that. So, but I don't want to like kick the other one. But you can see just neato. Thanks, guys. Set that to the side. Look for the sea, y'all. All right, so what do we got here? We got the VanPelt double. So again, on loan from old Jack Hazard. Look at him spinning 60 frames. What? I think the sun's coming out. Oh shoot, that'll be nice. Maybe we can see some warping because these are beauties. I don't know what they look like warping yet because it's been, it's November in Vermont, so you don't see the sun till probably March. Anyway, so there's two different versions we got here. We got this is sort of like their standard-ish range in terms of like the flamed buttons and the flamed weights, which I think are removable, but I haven't tried removing them. It definitely doesn't come with extra weights. They might be jammed on there. You can get ones with removable weights and stuff like that, but these are, I want to say, either 40 to 45 bucks. So we're getting the price out of the way real early, just because there's two different versions that we're looking at. So on their site, they've got a lot of options on their site, let me just tell you. But on their site, they've got, it looks like this one with this button, but also has these cutouts. So I don't know if this adds to the price, but you're looking at about, I think, 40 to 45 bucks for these two particular ones, upwards of 70 for the whole ones with the exchangeable weights and all that stuff. So I'm not sure which one I'm going to spin more today on video here for you. But yeah, these are the doubles. So how do we feel about the doubles? So first things first is these are large. These are large bars. Reminds me of Large Marge from Pee Wee Herman. Tell them Large Marge sent you. Am I dating myself a little bit there, internets? Some of you young kids won't get it. Some of you older folks will probably get it. I bet you Horace is going to get it. I bet you Randy's going to get it. I bet you Tim's going to get it. There's a lot more people out there that are probably going to get it. Yeah, anywho. So let's take a look at this, shall we? So I had kind of not considered VanPelt for a while for a couple of reasons. One, two main things. I think I just said that. Anyway, one is the aesthetic, and then two is the material. So these are aluminum with stainless steel. And they make stainless steel, they make brass, they make copper, around this like aluminum frame, this aluminum body. This is sort of like their signature body, and whether they put the little dots in it or not, whether they put this chamfer on the edge, whether they put this cutout in here, whether they put these little grooves there. A lot of different options, a lot of different anodizing colors. Yeah, but so the material, I've kind of been like, I like heavier spinners, and I didn't really fancy the weight of aluminum, so I didn't really give it a shot or a second look. And then the aesthetic, right? Well, that's kind of a cool little warp with those little cutouts around the side. It's just, and I don't mean this in a bad way per se. It's just the only term I can think of is they're kind of gaudy. They kind of remind me of like a what's that luxury brand? What am I trying to think of? I can't think of it now. I was thinking about it the whole time leading up to this review. I'm like, oh, I'm going to make this analogy that they're like Louis Vuitton or like Dolce or something like that. It just seems like it's got some extra fanciness just for the sake of being fancy. And again, I think it's an aesthetic. Again, gaudy is the only thing I can think of, and I don't mean that as like a negative. If you like this look, you like it. If you don't, you don't. And if you don't like it, you probably might call it gaudy and mean it as a negative, but that's not really the analogy I'm trying to make. But yeah, so I really dig the actual look of this. to a degree. I know I just kind of said it was something that kind of turned me off, but I don't know, taking more of a look at them, it wasn't as much of a detractor as it was for me kind of initially. So, but again, it's definitely I would think a binary kind of thing for most people. I think you would either really like it or really not like it. I don't think there's a lot of in between for this type of design, and that's fine. You don't have to like every spinner out there, but if you do, sweet. Let's take a look. We'll spin this one for a minute. So this is the blue one without those chamfers. Spins nice. So they are big old bars. So they're especially with the weights, they're pretty tall. And I didn't bring my scale today, but these are large. I've got a Leatherman I'm using to balance my tripod on, and we are looking at boy, about 3 inches, a little over 3 inches for spin diameter. That's huge, everybody. There's a bug landing on my arm. That's pretty huge. These are pretty big. So like, I mean, I've got big hands, so I got plenty of clearance, but they're large. If you like your larger bar spinners, that's kind of what this is going to come down to. So they do spin really nice. You know, Jack kind of told me to go ham on these. You know, carry them, do what I do with them. You know how he treats his spinners. You know, he does his tricks over concrete, and who the heck knows what happens. So, but they're in pretty good shape. And again, when you get them from VanPelt, any little blemishes you see, we'll just blame those on Jack, not on Gary, or Jerry. Sorry, that's Jerry with a G. So, forgive me. But anyway, what was I saying? So, yeah, so big bars, some good weight. They really feel pretty fast once you get them moving. Now this blue one I tested on a table spin. I got about 2.5 minutes. The bearing doesn't really feel dirty or grimy or anything like that, but I know that's not like a realistic spin time for something like this, especially with a good clean bearing or running a hybrid ceramic. I know you can get a lot more out of this. This one we got about just over 4 minutes. And then on a vertical spin we got just over 6. And again, even that, I know you can get more than this. I can feel the spin in it, and how it wants to go. I can tell that you can get some good spin time. But that said, for me, bar spinners, I don't really consider spin time much of an issue, so they have more than enough spin time for anything that you might want. Oh, that's kind of cool with the grooves. More than enough spin time for the spin time junkie out there. The buttons on this one I really love the look of, but I'll be honest, they're a lot slipperier than they look. Like these little notches, you can really feel them there, but when you put your fingers on it to the side, they really kind of want to slip around a little bit. So when you get those dry winter paper fingers, you're not going to get the grip. Any other time, the grip is fine because it is still a kind of a consistent dish all the way down. And it looks gorgeous, like the rounding all around looks really good. So they have an interesting retention method, which is sort of like what you would expect from a... Actually, I think they're different. Hang on, let me see. Or maybe I'm thinking of the triple. Let me look and see here. So this one obviously is these little screws, and then you get into the plate. And this one is, yeah, so this is, you'll notice, doesn't have any screws, doesn't have anything, and you just kind of like get on it and twist it, see that? And then it just kind of twists out and twists in pretty firm. So it goes in well enough. What you can actually do if you really want to get that tightened down or you're having issues with it loosening, just take like a rubber bouncy ball or something like that, and that will get enough tension to push and twist in there to really get a good spin. But I haven't had issues with that coming loose, so it seems to be fine with a hand tighten. Get a little flame job. So how are they actually to fidget with? I should also say these buttons definitely provide more grip. Although sometimes on these side poles, I'm catching the edge of this, and at first I thought it was like hot spots from maybe little burrs on the inside of this, but now it's machined all well. No hot spots to be found, but you do grind your finger on the side of this a little bit with poles with this particular button. But that's easy enough. If you take these buttons off and just hit them with a little bit of sandpaper, if that bothers you, you can take care of that, no problem. That can be resolved, so... they're quiet too. They're quiet little spinners. So I believe, at least with some of their spinners, they use Boca Bearings, which are known to be pretty smooth. I don't know if they have, if they use that for all their spinners or just certain ones, but they're decent enough bearings. I think when you're buying them after the fact, I don't know if they give you the performance versus the cost to really make it worth doing something like that versus a one drop if you want the ultimate smoothness, or, you know, getting some really good bearings, really affordable from our man Heck or Raja over at Fidget HQ. Both of those guys got the bearing game on lockdown, in my opinion. So, anywho. So fidgeting, so I do have a bit of a problem with this in terms of fidgeting for me. And I think it's the same sort of comments I made on the Valkyrie. It's not as all over the place as the Valkyrie. I feel like I'm going to bump into this. It's not as all over the place as the Valkyrie. Remember the Valkyrie, I said I kind of felt like it was never in position. I don't really find that quite as much. It is a bigger bar spinner, so especially if you're reaching out farther, there's a lot more empty space here to here than there is from like here to here. So if you're really reaching out wide, sometimes it's not there, but my fingers and my hands do a pretty good job of catching it. But pushing, flicking, pulling, all that's pretty good. The issue that I have is, especially with these raised weights, how tall it is that far out, I'm constantly hitting this right here. So I'll give it a spin and I'll constantly, whoop, just like that. You can kind of see it when I'm kicking off sometimes. It's hard to hold my hand in camera the way I would normally spin and run into it. But yeah, I do run into that weight bumping into my finger and my knuckle a lot, which isn't too bad, especially if you're doing more of a pinch grip like this. Not really an issue, but if you're kind of getting it on a flat grip and you're kind of reaching up and over it, you kind of bump into it a lot. So that's that. That's what it is. That's where we're at. So for me, pretty solid fidgeter. You know, it's because everything's kind of curved and rounded, you're almost always going to find something to pull on. With you know, not necessarily with this kind of fidgeting, but with this, again, it's pretty much always there. Sun's coming out. Can we get a warp? Slow it down. Warp speed, Mr. Sulu. Oh. It's a bar, so we got to get it at. Hang on, I might have to really whip it good. Oh, I'm also in 60 frames per second. No wonder. I'm having a hard time getting this with 2 arms and 60 frames per second. I've got to really get it moving to get that warp to show. I don't know if we can get it at the speed to warp it properly. Yeah, it's like. No. Anyway, we're not going to worry about it. I should turn 60 frames off if you really want to see warping. So yeah, downsides, I bump in my arm here. These buttons maybe are a little bit slippery, and it's a little, you know, you're going to have to like big bar spinners if you like this. Positives, really well finished, really affordable too, right? 40 to 45 bucks for these, upwards of 70 if you kind of want the whole shebang. Lots of color options, really nice looks. Those, I should say, especially in like the low light conditions, with the right kind of light, the way this dances and plays with light, the spin profile you get from this, pretty amazing, pretty rock solid. So, coming down to what can we do in terms of the recommending? How many thumbs up, down, sideways? I don't think I sounded that negative, and I'm really not that negative on it, but for me, it's a 1 thumb. I haven't played with their mini bar, but for me personally, I feel like these are a little too large for what I like with bars. And as much as I like larger, heavier spinners, and we'll kind of talk about it when we talk about the tri version of this, it's going to sound very contradictory. But for me, for bars, I'm realizing that I prefer smaller bars. What I will say though is, again, we're talking US made, well finished, well machined, well balanced. That one's kind of making a little bit of a liar out of me. This one's pretty good. But they're also using removable weight, so you don't really feel any wobble or judder. I should say judder you feel all over the place. These are big, long bars, so you're going to get some significant bar judder from that. But I know a lot of people like that. But the wobble from being off balance, you don't really feel. They feel dead smooth. So, and again, the aluminum, I didn't really mention this. The aluminum is perfect for this. Again, at first, I was sort of like, before I got a hold of these and before I got a hold of that gyro kit, I was just like, I don't really want aluminum. But let me tell you, with something this big, it doesn't feel like a light spinner. We didn't even weigh it. We didn't even weigh it, internet. We're all over the place today. Can you see the weight? I don't think you can. What if I move it in? There you go. Oh, we're on ounces. 82 grams. 84, 85 grams, right? So right on the high end of the fidgeting range for me. But again, with the aluminum and with the size and with these weights on the end, we're good to go. We are good to go, internet. So yeah, that 1 thumb recommendation for me. Why is that? Again, for me personally, I find in most cases it looks like I don't really like large bars. The Valkyrie I wasn't a huge fan of. And this guy, from a fidgeting perspective, it just really, it's not as satisfying for me to spin. But I know a lot of people had a lot of things to say about the Valkyrie and why they love it. And I think if you like the Valkyrie, you got to get this. And then on top of that, this is cheaper than the Valkyrie is, or at least was, and it's US made, so, and it's got some great finish, and you got tons of options in terms of color and materials, so you can get the one that speaks to you, and I know a lot of people that have these seem to really like them and love them as well. So again, for me, a little too large, bumps into my finger a little, but still a solid spinner, and I think there's definitely a place for it for a lot of people. I think for me in particular, and I haven't tried their mini bar spinner, I think that's the one that I would love. That was the other reason for the one thumb. I think if I were getting it personally, if I were to go back to them again, not having had the mini, again, I feel like the mini bar would be the one that I would like a lot more personally. So there you have it, internet, the VanPelt Double. Go and get yourself some if you like some big old bars. Not enough big old bars, not enough big spinners. We'll talk about it in the next video with the triple, but not enough big spinners for us big meaty hand folks. So anyway, internet, kisses. Can we end on a little USA, little VanPelt? Kisses.